What's going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer from Blue and Gold with former Notre Dame linebacker and captain Mike Goolsby. About 10 minutes after Notre Dame's 21-10 loss against the Ohio State Buckeyes. And Mr. Goolsby will give his full unfiltered thoughts on the game. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up on this video. And subscribe to our YouTube channel here at Blue and Gold if you have not yet. And head to blueandgold.com. $1 for 1 year of premium access. Got all the good recruiting information, team coverage, message board over at Blue and Gold. So make sure you head over to the site. Again, blueandgold.com, $1 for 1 year of your of premium access. All right, Mr. Goolsby. Also, I should mention, if you're listening via podcast, appreciate you as well. Leave us a kind review if you like what you hear. But Mike, we'll just kind of give you the floor. Your initial reaction to this 11-point loss for the Irish.
It's not as bad as it could have been, Mike. It was really a tale of two halves. I don't know what happened to us in terms of that energy that Coach Freeman seemed to bring in the first half. We lost it. That last kind of funny drive where we got the ball with 40 seconds left to end the first half, had a little bit of discombobulation, and we never could really get back on track. Kind of going into halftime with the lead, it seemed like we almost lost a little bit of momentum. It was kind of strange, but the team came out, swagger on a million the first half. It was a super physical game, and then we came out the second half, and it looked like what we're sort of accustomed to, or had become accustomed to in the Brian Kelly era. It's like we came out a little bit flat, a little bit more hesitant. Defensively, still played hard. We got a little bit gassed at the end of the second half, back half of the second half, and offensively, we were out of sorts. It felt like Coach Reese was kind of backpedaling and really couldn't get any traction in the second half. So that was the tale of this game. Came out ultra competitive in the first half, and then in the second half, sort of if that was going to be our new identity, sort of lost that identity in the second half. So, but we did. I mean, we were competitive. A couple boneheaded scheme things, strategy things that we can maybe get into. But that's my takeaway. Is I really, really love the energy we showed up with. Treating this like a big-time game, acknowledging that it's a big-time game, whereas Coach Kelly never really did that. But we just couldn't sustain that energy throughout.
All right, Mike, I have an interesting stat for you that I want to pop up on the screen. You talking about kind of the tale of two halves.
Mm-hmm.
This total yardage, first quarter, 87 yards. Second quarter, 94 yards. Third quarter, 60 yards. And Mike, do you remember that ball from Buckner to Lindsey that was like 32 yards at the end of the quarter? So you had half of your yards just on that one play. And look at that fourth quarter, 12 yards. What in the world happened in the second half? Of course, we are just we are live right after the game. There's no rewatch here. It's just going off of memory. But can you put a finger on what the heck happened to this Notre Dame offense in the second half? Because, Mike, I was jotting down notes. I thought Tommy Rees called a brilliant first half.
Oh, incredible first half. A lot of misdirection on the running plays. I think ultimately, though, Mike, to answer that question, the tale of the two halves, what is, in particular, like the fourth quarter, they had some long drives. We didn't have the ball as often in the second half as we did the first, but we're limited on offense, man. I mean, Matt Salerno, God bless him, but I mean, he's our go-to guy. So Coach Reese, as brilliant as he appeared to be in the first half, some of that coaching, Ohio State coaching staff kind of caught up to us in the second half. And that's the thing, Mike, in close games like this, I'm still going to give the Ohio State the nod in terms of athletic ability and just playmakers and dominant players and stars that kind of showed up. Throw all that out the window in a close game. Coaching decisions, strategy, ability to adapt, that matters, and that sort of crept up on us in the second half. And we're just limited in terms of Like, gosh, Mike, it's a broken record, dude. We're limited with playmakers on the edge, both defensively speaking at the corner position and at the wide receiver position. I mean, Lorenzo Styles, Tyler Buckner's first pass, beautiful. We haven't had a quarterback that he would make that throw. He's getting hit in the face mask, and he drops a dime to Lorenzo Styles, but he disappeared the rest of the game. So, and then, our walk-on, I mean, Matt Salerno is a better receiver apparently than he was a punt returner. But you've got to find a better option to be your quote-unquote go-to guy in the clutch than a former walk-on. I mean, goodness gracious.
Yeah. Again, folks, ton to talk about here. So hit that thumbs up on the video. Hang out with us for a while. If you have a question that you want answered by Mr. Goolsby right away, drop a super chat, and we will get to it. Otherwise, might get to some questions near the end of the show, but again, super chat, we'll get to it right away. Yeah, Mike, there's so many aspects of this game I want to talk about.
I'm tired, Mike. Mike, I'll tell you, I'm tired. I've been looking forward to this all of us have. I've been looking forward to this for so many weeks. And I mean, the first half, Mike, I was almost like shaking with like nervous energy watching. I was so excited. I'm drained, man. But yeah, let's get into it. I mean, where do you want to start?
So we know about Notre Dame's lack of depth at receiver. Mm-hmm. So I think 12 personnel was like the package. I mean, Mayer and Bauman I'm excited to see the snap counts that will run at Blue and Gold this week. Sunday or Monday, I want to say, but it seemed like Bauman and Mayer or obviously Mayer's going to be out there. It seemed like Bauman was out there all the time.
Yeah, we were in 13 personnel a handful of times. I mean, but then again, when you're limited with bodies, you've got to find workarounds. I thought Estime had a nice little first half, first several drives. I put in my notes, Estime's the man, and then we disappeared. That was confusing. Bauman, not a great player in space, not a great blocker in space. I mean, a lot of those kind of unique movement outside runs, he's whiffing. And we'd get positive yardage, 3, 4, 5, 6 yards, but those could have been much bigger plays, splash plays, had he done a better job of tracking defenders. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be a thorn in our side all season, Mike, is the lack of depth and experience and explosiveness at that wide receiver position. Absolutely. So
in our YouTube live chat, I mean, look, when a college football team loses a game and struggles to put up points, everyone's calling for the offense coordinator's head, right? I mean, that's what our YouTube live chat is. Everyone's saying it's Reese. How much of this loss do you put on Tommy Reese? It's not an easy question to answer on the spot, but I mean, that's just what the people are saying.
Well, we knew going into this game, or we believed anyway, that in a lot of ways, Mike, our strengths were their weaknesses. Yes.
Yep.
We felt pretty confident as a fan base that we were going to really lean on our offensive line. Jared Patterson goes out. Kristofic had a rough game. So what was our identity going to be? And I knew that Coach Freeman, I think, throughout camp, he wanted this game to be a bloodbath. I had heard that word thrown around. He wanted this to be a fist fight. And again, we ran the ball better in the first half, and then we just really didn't have an identity. It was like Coach Reese was kind of backpedaling almost and discombobulated in terms of the overall scheme or the approach that he wanted. In the second half, it was just a mess. So yeah, you could put it on Coach Reese in that we're in a tight ball game. It's 10-7. You're having some success, Dinkin and Duncan running the ball. And then I went back and looked at our first two drives, and it was like 70% pass, which worries me. And that kind of made me think back to the bowl game against defensive coordinator Jim Knowles at Oklahoma State. So, but there were some boneheaded things on the defensive side of the ball too. But that was my big takeaway, is that we didn't really establish an identity offensively throughout the game. I felt pretty confident in that run game. in the first half. But then the second half, we couldn't just find it. We couldn't find our way, and we're just going back to like, oh, it's third down. Where's Michael Mayer?
Yeah.
Third down. Let's throw it to Michael Mayer.
James O'Rourke, appreciate the super chat. Looking for you in the chat here if you have a question. Definitely appreciate the super chat. Dennis dropped one as well. Says we will be okay. We got too conservative. Estimate should be the starting back. He was the starting back.
Sure.
And that's another talking point. And in terms of Isaiah Foskey, I want to say he got a little dinged up. Mike, did he come out for the game for a while? Did you notice that?
He didn't play as he didn't get as many snaps as you'd like to think. So yeah, I didn't. And in terms of the broadcast, they didn't touch on whether he got nicked up or not.
Four total tackles and just 2 solos. So not a ton.
But this is one of these games too, Mike, where we want to put it on Coach Reese, understandably so. But in these big games, and this is such a broken record. This is the third year we're doing this now, Mike, where in these big time matchups, individual players have to like make exceptional plays where, there's running plays drawn up where it's Logan Diggs it was a one-on-one with a linebacker and he just gets tackled. Like we got to make a special play in that scenario. It's blocked, it's one-on-one, and then you lose that matchup. You can't step out of a tackle. So, that's frustrating as well. I thought, there was a couple passes where Lindsey, I know it's a difficult catch, but come down with the ball. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I was really looking forward to, we talked about this in the offseason, an Isaiah Foskey sort of becoming a household name. And no defenders really stepped up or showed out in this game. Great coverage. Defensively, great coverage most of the game, but we didn't tip one pass. We couldn't break up one pass, and we're right there. So that was frustrating as well.
Yeah,
in our defensive line, again, they played great early, and we felt going into the game too, Mike, that was a big strength or advantage that we had. But over time, that second half, we started to get really gassed. That was pretty apparent.
Yeah, so many talking points here. So Patrick Engel and Tyler Hork at Blue and Gold did like a prop bet kind of video on Friday, and they said sacks over under 1.5. And when Howard Cross had that 1 sack early in the game, I was like, oh, they're gonna hit that over.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. That's all she wrote in terms of sacks. Do have another super chat. B Place says offensive line did not play well. But we just never had any offensive spark. It looked messy on offense. Defense of line, I expect more from them.
Sure.
So we just touched on the defensive line there, and I do want to get some more of that. B Place, really appreciate the super chat. Talk about this offensive line because Harry Heaston comes in. Everyone's saying this offensive line. I thought this offensive line was going to be a major strength. And let's pull it up. How many times did Buckner get sacked? I'll get to that. Rushing yards. Let's see the sack adjusted rushing yards. Because Notre Dame had 76 rushing yards, but sack adjusted ends up 95 rushing yards. So you take out the sacks. And then let's look at this Buckeyes defense. Sacked Tyler Buckner 3 times, pressured a ton. Tell us about this offensive line. Yeah, because Mike Harry Heaston seemed like he was going to fix it overnight, but it might not.
We can't discount the loss of Jarrett Patterson, team captain. I believe, Pro Football Focus, I don't think he's given up a sack in his career. Somebody can correct me on that if I'm wrong. So you can't discount the losing Patterson. I thought our tackles held up pretty well. Blake Fisher gave up a sack really late. Andrew Kostopik had a rough game in terms of picking up pressures and stunts. So that looked familiar going back to last season. But yeah, I would say it was the O-line play was average. It wasn't exceptional. Look at the stats.
Yeah. So I think we even have another couple super chats. They just keep rolling in. Really appreciate it. James did drop his comment with his super chat. So again, appreciate this, James. Seems like Reese had no trust in Tyler Buckner. Defense has kept us in the game, but got gassed. Have to say I'm disappointed. Now I have to deal with my friends trolling me. Love the show. Go Irish. Really good points here, James. I really like the love the show part. That's the best point. I thought that early in the game, he eased Buckner into it. It was a lot of easy throws. Didn't feel like he had to make too many decisions. Dare I say vanilla, but it did kind of work. Defense obviously kept Notre Dame in the game until they got gassed. Do you have any disagreements with what James is saying, Mike?
No, the defense absolutely got gassed, which is
and did keep them in the game. I mean,
yeah. So the defense got gassed, Mike. But back when I played, bro, I remember we played USC in was it 2002, and we had 97 snaps on defense, and we didn't rotate back then, right? So it bothers me that the defense did get physically and obviously gassed, but with the way we rotate so many dudes, that shouldn't happen, right? So it was more of like a lack of energy or lack of like I said, that they lost that swagger. I mean, we get a transfer, Brandon Joseph, an All-American from Northwestern, and we're rotating him in and out. It's like, we played, I think, 6 corners. We have a ton of depth at the D-line. So physically, I don't believe that it was a conditioning issue. It was just like what happened in the locker room at halftime where they came out. You saw a lot of finger waving in the first half, a lot of this. They're very demonstrative in terms of like their energy and being brash in the first half, and then that was gone in the second half. So I don't know what that was. I really don't. It bothers me. But I think the last pod you and I did, Mike, a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I'm looking for stars. Truly, I'm looking for stars. Like a handful of the kids we saw from Ohio State. That number 51, that defensive tackle, both backs, those are stars. They've got stars at wide receiver. They got star at quarterback. In stages like this, man, especially like in Isaiah Foskey, you can kind of cement yourself as almost like legend status. And I don't think anybody really did that today. And I thought in the first half, kind of prepping for the show, bro, I'm like, this is going to be if we win, it's going to be a team win. We have maybe a better overall team, a better overall unit, better overall culture versus they've got stars at receiver, running back, and quarterback. But maybe we're a better overall team. But they had better horses at the end of the day.
I completely agree. I think Notre Dame was the better team. I really do. They just fell apart late, and Ohio State has one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Stroud wasn't amazing.
He's accurate as hell, though. He's accurate as hell.
I mean, the numbers are pretty good. 24, 34, 223, 2 touchdowns. But it's not like he just was that crazy good. Ohio State even lost Jackson Smith to injury, but still. They definitely had some dudes. Okay, few comments to get to. Will ask us this clip on. Come on, dude. This is a real tie. Don't try me like that.
Your wife made it for you, though. She tied it for you.
Dude, right? I mean, it's not well done, but you guys don't see under here, so you guys don't know how well it was put on. Paul asks, did Notre Dame get better tonight? What do you think, Mike?
I'd have to say yes, because we did get a chance to play so many youngsters. Several true freshmen kind of sprinkled in, played 2 young corners. Jaden Thomas was out there playing. Estime's a young player. Buckner's a young player. So, I don't want to take away anything like, from an experience like this, playing in a horseshoe primetime game. So, yes, I would say we did get better. But until the defense is going to be fine. I believe that, better than fine. But we've really got to figure out an offensive identity. And I don't feel good about that coming out of the game. Is who are we on offense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we haven't even really talked much about Tyler Buckner. Still so much to discuss. Paul, really appreciate the super chat. So, folks, if you're just tuning in, hit that thumbs up. If you want anything answered by Mr. Goolsby right away, drop that super chat and he will get to it. We have segments prepared of talking points to discuss, but we're dropping those for anything that you guys have to say. So we do have a few to get to. Milton Fan 15, a big supporter of our show, says our O-line beat us. Still a lot of positive. Defense, toughness, defensive backs. Buckner first game in the shoe played tough, frustrating, but still optimistic. Yeah, I agree on all these points. You know,
I wouldn't say Mike, our O-line beat us.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know, but the O-line beat us. O-line didn't play great.
Well, let's say as opposed to our O-line beat us, let's say that our O-line sort of disappointed us or maybe let us down, but they weren't the reason we lost. I think, again, the lack of like this scheme, and I keep using the term identity. We just didn't have an offensive identity today. Had our O-line been as dominant as we had hoped, we might have been able to create that sort of power running identity, use Buckner on more design plays, design QB runs. But also, too, Mike, I mean, we're still a very young team. I mean, like, look at our tackles. I mean, they're both true sophomores, right? So you take out the most experienced guy in Patterson. It's still overall, the O-line's still a young unit. And Harry Houston's been here for some time now, but they'll get better. I mean, remember last year, Mike, how poor the offensive line was the first 2, 3, 4 games. I mean, they were awful.
So my boy Joe Walt got in there.
Yeah. So and then I mean, like I said, he was kind of like an MVP candidate for a time there. So we'll see.
Yeah, but then Tim Hyde, our fellow football analyst, will remind folks that they did not play good defensive lines down the stretch of the season. Kind of a glass half empty outlook, but still holds some truth there. Dennis, appreciate the super chat. Also, Milton Fan, again, appreciate you. We played like we didn't want to lose, Dennis says. Do you agree?
So how do you? Yeah. So we go in the half up 10-7. How do you play that game, Mike? So to me, you stick with what you're doing. But yeah, it was like we kind of took a conservative approach offensively. And I do want to talk. I mean, I love to focus on the defense. We had a couple like boneheaded, like stupid, frankly. Like we brought that double safety blitz. That was stupid. So on the offensive side of the ball, maybe you could say that Coach Reese was a little conservative. I'll grant you that. But on the defensive side of the ball, maybe we were a little bit too aggressive at times. I mean, their second touchdown pass down the seam where, again, true freshman, Jaden Mickey gets beat. Tariq Bracy, who played a monster of a game, he gets my game ball. Tariq Bracy played his ass off. Truly, he did. He goes out with a cramp. Next snap, we bring a double safety blitz. You leave Mickey one-on-one in the slot. He gets beat for a touchdown. That's dumb. Dumb. And they walk up, and you can't do that. You can't bring a double safety blitz on third down against a CJ Stroud-like quarterback. It's dumb.
Yeah. Dan Moeller agrees. He thinks that was a horrible call, and also thinks that Notre Dame got out muscled in the trenches. Any comments on that?
No, I fully agree. Dan, great timing on dropping the super chat. Yes, unequivocally, that was a horrible call. That double safety blitz. And again, this scenario, Bracy, who had been our best defensive back all night, he goes out with cramps. You put in a true freshman to back him up. And then and on that snap, you decide to hang him out to dry. It was almost like we did with Clarence Lewis in the Oklahoma State game the whole second half. He had no help. Not smart. Yes, in terms of getting out muscled, and Mike, we're going to talk about this over and over and over again. And Tim Hyde is in full agreement with me on this. Until we can get some like monsters, like true size on both the defensive line and the offensive line, you're going to see what happened tonight, where a player like the 51 for Ohio State, their 3 technique, over time, he's dominant. You know, we don't have enough of those body types just yet.
My boss just texted me, so he's watching, so I got to make sure I'm on my absolute A game. So, guys, keep bringing the super chats. It lets them know that we're doing a good job on the show. Eric says the offense killed the defense's morale. I don't know about morale, Mike. That's kind of hard to quantify, but there is something too, and you can speak to this as a obviously a former Notre Dame player. Notre Dame controlled the ball in the first half, and then that time of possession really swung towards Ohio State. So when you're just out on that field for such a long time, maybe momentum is a better word than morale, and a little bit of getting gassed.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, there can be infighting on teams. I mean, go back to 2002. We had a top, whatever it was, top 4 defense or something, and the first 7 games of the season, Mike, the offense didn't score a touchdown. We didn't score a touchdown for 7 games. And yes, that created a little bit of infighting in the locker room because it's like, as a defense and special teams unit, like, how long can we carry this team? However, you got to relish that. I mean, you got to love to be out in the field, and in a game like this, somebody step up and make a play. And I look at, like, again, I thought our secondary played great, especially considering the talent that they were lined up against. But we never made a play. We didn't get our hand on one ball. You can go back. I can't wait to rewatch it. But there's plays where it's either us or the receiver catches the ball, and we don't even touch it. It's like, it's amazing to me how we consistently like put ourselves in a position to make a play and get your name in the paper, like I like to say, and we don't do it. So yes, some of that could be the offensive affecting the defensive morale, but this is an opportunity for you to go make a play. And it didn't seem like anybody really, again, stepped out on the defensive side of the ball in the second half in particular. We didn't play as hard.
So during the fall, Mike's usual live show will be Sunday night, so Mike can rewatch the game and everything. But he was just too fired up for this one. He really wanted to go live tonight. So Mike, maybe we'll do another video or something in a couple days after.
Like I said, I'm traveling all through the West. I'm in a hotel in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So yeah, I wanted to get on tonight just because of the scope of the game, the magnitude of it.
Absolutely, and we appreciate your time. Still have a pool of super chats to get to.
Let's go.
This comment here: TB didn't do that bad. Of course, referring to Tyler Buckner. The O-line, on the other hand, I'm assuming he means didn't do so well. Buckner's stats on the night: 10 of 18, 177 yards. Let's see.
No interceptions. No interceptions.
No turnovers.
He threw one questionable ball. I like the throw personally.
Which one was that, Mike?
It was I think it was early third quarter crossing pattern to Lindsey.
Oh,
the safety had his back turned to Buckner, so Buckner tried to fit the ball in, and Buckner actually went through his progression on that play. But then again, that's one of those plays like, Lindsey, just come down with the ball, man. Come down with the ball. Make a play. But yeah, I thought Buckner did great. I think he has a lot of tools to work with. I think when Tyler learns to calm down and can kind of get rid of some of that play anxiety, I think his runs are going to be more explosive in terms of setting people up. I thought he managed the game really well. And dude, some of the throws that he makes, those quick releases and stuff like that, we haven't had a quarterback that had the physical talent to do that in some time.
Yeah. Cool. Snowman says, do you see a quarterback change next week?
Next question. Absolutely not.
No.
I'm not doing this. We're not doing this again. We're going to go through another season of it's fun to talk about. But no, Tyler Buckner played great. Night game, on the road, Horseshoe, ESPN game day. The kid hasn't started a game for 2-3 years. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I agree. Okie dokie. Goolsby, love you, man, but why so down? A lot of young players who played the first game and the shoe game was exciting, and I suspect amazing things this year. Now, Milton Fan posted this about 8 minutes ago. So, you agree with some of this. Like, yeah, it was good. Like the question about did Notre Dame get better? You said yes because of those young players. So you and Milton Fan agree here. Do you think you're down right now in Notre Dame?
Well, we did lose the game, Milton Fan. So to answer your question, that's why I'm down.
Which that's a point unto itself because I have thoughts on that. because Tim Hyde's texting me and he's very upset. And my thought is, I thought Notre Dame was going to lose. I picked, I think it was 27-20 or 27-17 or something like that. So I thought Notre Dame was the best. They impressed me. They played better than I thought they were going to on the road against Ohio State with all of those things you're talking about. A new quarterback, the heart and soul of your team, and Kyron Williams is in the NFL, depleted receiver room, like all of these things. And I thought they were the better team through what, 2.5 quarters?
Sure, I would agree with that.
So I'm kind of like when I'm watching the game, I'm taking notes, preparing for the live show, posting updates, doing our Twitter for Blue and Gold. Like, I'm not reading what everyone's saying on Twitter. So when I pop on here and I get Tim Hyde's, and I'm like, everyone's like very upset because of the loss. I understand, but I don't agree with, fiery, this team's terrible, same old. Like, I think, like, Notre Dame in some of these spots, you think the games they've played well in, the Georgia games, obviously beating Clemson. I think Notre Dame just looked like they belonged in this one more than they did in those 2 Georgia games.
You know what it is, though, Mike? You know what it is, though, if I could interject? It's like I'd almost, in a way, you'd almost rather Buckner throw a pick 6 and that's what lost us the game, right? Versus there's so many times where you're like, you can't really pinpoint one specific thing that lost the game for you. And that's where the frustrating part comes from. Like, why does the team come out with their hair on fire, which is what we knew, we were hopeful that Freeman would bring to the table in terms of changing the dynamic and the energy for these big games, because we lose them. And it's like, yes, you get so optimistic watching the first half. And then what happened in the second? Like, nothing really happened. Again, it wasn't a pick 6 or a fumble, or your quarterback got hurt or something obvious. But you're just like, you scratch your head, and you could break down incrementally things like that stupid ass double safety blitz. We just gave them a touchdown. But they've got better players, and then again, the disappointing thing is we thought our defensive line would be a really strong, a strong point, and they didn't really, like, it was just kind of, they didn't dominate, and we thought our offensive line would be a strong point, and they didn't really dominate. So that's where the disappointment and it's frustration comes from.
Yeah. I want to go back to Buckner, because what I have said before, I don't know if it was with you on a show or with Hyde, is that I'm not as high on Buckner as most people are, like you or Hyde or most Notre Dame fans.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean I don't think he's the best quarterback on the team, or I don't think he's any good. Like, all these things, I don't like Buckner as much as you, but I think Buckner is really good. Like, those two things can both be true.
Yes.
My point on Buckner was that I think he was going to be consistently inconsistent. Like, I think he's going to run for 80 yards on this play and then throw a pick 6 on the next. Like, you didn't see that. You didn't. I am higher on Buckner tonight than I was going into the game, for sure.
I love to see it. And we went back to the stats. He sacked 3 times, 3.5 times, whatever it was. There was one of those sacks where the interior defensive lineman just walked right into the backfield. We didn't touch him. And this is the thing, Mike, as an ex-captain and stuff like that, you got to say, okay, we're breaking in a brand new quarterback that hasn't even played a ton of football just in general leading up to this point. Like, we have to step up for him. And then you just let somebody walk into the backfield like that. It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah, Mike.
It's not fair. It's not fair to the kid. It's not fair to Tyler.
No turnovers. Made some nice throws down the field.
Made some great throws.
Had some moxie to them. If you're a Notre Dame fan about this quarterback, I'm feeling pretty good. And you get him for another couple of years. Like,
he only made one mistake. It was an early play clock. He let the play clock get close to running out. Freeman had to burn a timeout. That was probably the only only mistake that I saw that you could attribute to youth or inexperience. So yeah, I think he had I I think he had a really good game, taking the whole situation into consideration.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Okay, more super chats. We are just we're not, just do super chats all night. It's gonna be fun. We'll do this all night. Rychan12 says, so are we still a year out for quarterback, or can Pine come in and throw the ball around a little bit with the line we have? No, I mean, yeah, this was super chat done about 12 minutes ago. So we just kind of gave our thoughts. Yeah, I love Drew Pine. Buckner's the guy. Like, if God forbid, knock on wood, Buckner goes down, Pine is, I think, one of the better backups in the country. But Buckner's.
Oh, I cannot, but I can almost assure you, Mike, that Tyler's going to get hurt at some point. Whether he gets full on injured, where he misses weeks at a time. But like I said, as I mentioned earlier, I think if he can kind of just calm himself down a little bit, get rid of some of that anxiety, he'll put himself in better positions where he's not playing so fast, and he can let his athletic ability take over just a little bit more. But yeah, because he's playing a million miles an hour, and if he keeps that up for a full season, inevitably he's going to get dinged up for sure.
Yeah, I mean he's a big dude. You know, he's over 200.
But I don't. People far too often in a lot of different facets of life, everything has to be a black and white issue, right?
Right.
We need nuance in our lives. So for whatever reason, because Tyler's an athletic running quarterback, people think that he can't throw. Like the last super chat, oh, let's bring Pine in and let him throw it. It's like, no, Buckner can throw the ball, But again, who's he going to throw the ball to? Apparently, our best receiver is a walk on. That's not on Buckner, right? It's not on Buckner.
Yeah, the most targeted receiver was Mayer, and then after that, you had Braden Lenzy at 4. So I'll pop this up. So folks dropping super chats. Some folks are dropping super chats and not adding a comment. So I'm going to do my best to find your comment as well. Reen and Paul, make sure you guys drop a comment, and I will do my best to find it. Jacob Saylor says, I didn't see much that screamed new offense, just seemed really conservative. Tyler B kept looking for Mike Mayer because he didn't have time. The D was gassed.
There's a lot in there. I would agree, yeah, in terms of like the new offense. We blocked some things differently out of 12 personnel, some kind of misdirection. But yeah, it's like third down. It's Michael Mayer time. I did, again, I'd kind of called for Tyler to play a little bit of backyard ball. I think 2 different instances we saw that where he was able to get out of the pocket and just make a little bit of magic happen. That was encouraging. We didn't see any screens. The quarterback draw that we called was obvious as hell, given the scenario. So we'll see. We'll see. But as much as it may be easy to gang up on Coach Reese, look at what he had to work with last year in terms of like the offensive line, and he made something happen. And then this year, his best offensive line,
right?
Well, his best offensive lineman is out for the year. He's got 6 scholarship wide receivers, and 3 of them are, still wearing diapers. They're so young. So he's not the offensive coordinator at Ohio State where he's just got this, everything's in the cupboard. The cupboard's stocked. He doesn't have a stocked cupboard. So I do have a little bit of empathy for him there.
Thanks for the super chat, Jacob. Paul says thoughts on Jordan Patelho being invisible. Let's see stats for Patelho.
He wasn't out there.
He didn't play?
No, not any meaning. I mean, if he got more than 5 snaps, I'd be shocked.
I don't see him in the stat book.
I don't. So Jordan Patello, to answer the question, is one of these kids I root for because I think he plays the game the right way. So and we have so many, but what is he, right? Is he a linebacker? Is he a defensive end? So, but I just think in some of those third and obvious down and distances, just put him in there either as a blitzer or as just an edge guy and let him go do his thing. I mean, we had Maris playing out on the edge quite a bit. And Maris didn't really show up. For Christ's sakes, I mean, all offseason, dude, you'd think the guy was going to win the butt kiss or something, right? Like so many people anointed Maris Leofau as like the next Manti Te'o or something. And, he was fine. He couldn't get off blocks. As much length as he has, he couldn't get off any blocks that I saw. I mean, he made a nice little play on that early sack. But that was about it, man. So it just goes back to the same themes over and over, Mike. We've got great players across the board, really good players across the board, but not enough of them, again, step outside of themselves and go play in big games consistently.
Okay, folks, again, dropping super chats without a comment. I'm doing my very best to scroll and try to find them and also try to listen to what Goolsby's saying. Reen says, when do we start winning these big games, Mike? Pull out your crystal ball. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Some of it's, like I said, some of it's everybody just go back and rewatch the game. If you care, you'll go back and rewatch it Sunday or something. But tale of two halves. Had we played and maintained that energy throughout the second half, we might have won the game. But I don't know what happened in the locker room. Maybe we should have just taken a knee at that last series on offense. Versus like, I don't know why. Whatever, that last series on offense shifted the entire dynamic of the game and the energy. But to answer the question, you got to find that consistent energy. And then in these big games, somebody's got to like tip a pass, get the sack, get the fumble. Like Michael Mayer is the only, and we've been saying it for years now. I mean, Michael Mayer is the only guy to me that consistently goes out and makes plays. Like he had that great catch against that corner. He ended up, fumbling the ball and getting it back. But like you can count on Michael Mayer for stuff like that. And we don't have enough consistent guys at different levels, defensively speaking, anyways, that go out and make plays, or at the receiver position will go up and make a challenge, go up and make a contested catch. So that's my answer. Until we can find guys that do that and that want to do that, you won't win these big games. But I thought we looked good athletically. Just real quick, I thought the secondary played really well. I don't think that they finished plays, but I thought the secondary played really well.
Surprise!
So that was encouraging. Yeah,
that was the biggest surprise of the game. Maybe is how good Stroud has had a success for sure, but I thought they were going to get torched.
Benjamin Morrison's going to be a good player. He's going to be a good player.
Yeah.
And Cam Hart, they targeted him early, but yeah. So I think that was really encouraging, was the play of the secondary. I just wish, there's so many plays where it's like, well, how did we not tip that pass or break that pass up? And then, you've got to just find some dogs to play to that, like just size on the interior line. We need just bigger dudes. Because that gap shows up in these games against Bama or against Clemson and Ohio State, et cetera. It just does.
Mike, what time zone are you on?
Oh, I think I'm on Mountain Time.
Okay, so it's 9:45 out there. Can you go longer than
let's do
hour?
It, dude. No, of course,
man. Your phone charging?
If my phone is charging, let's hit it.
If you need to switch headphones, I think
let's hit it, dude. I got my second win, man. I'm good.
Yeah, I think I've got a log of like 10 super chats. So
and we haven't even gotten to our let's rip through them, bro. I'm here.
Right. Sweet. Okay. And again, folks, I'm trying to. So I really do apologize if I missed a super chat. We really appreciate all of them, but we just have a ton. Chief Brody says, "How concerning was the lack of dominance in the trenches?"
It's concerning is a strong word. It's more of a disappointment. Like, damn, we were going to rely on that offensive line, and again have that fist fight. What's the lack of dominance? We're mincing words here, but I think some of like the boneheaded plays where we're letting guys go and we can't pick up a simple stunt. That's more concerning than a lack of dominance. You're just letting defensive linemen walk into the backfield. So But again, the size piece too. I mean, Tim and I talk about that often. You can look at like Ohio State's tackles and be like, God damn, like that's a monster of a man. We don't quite have those kids just yet in terms of just the NFL frames and the size. Attaboy.
Yeah. No seltzers tonight. Oktoberfest. Best beer of the year. All right, Pete. Appreciate the 5 spot. He says to start the second half, the Notre Dame defense forced Ohio State 3 and out. And then after a penalty, Notre Dame had the ball at midfield, threw 3 incomplete passes, and never regained momentum. I'm gonna just trust your memory on that, Pete, because I don't remember.
No, I looked it up on the play-by-play on the ESPN app. Yeah, that's true, and that's where. So again, you go into halftime, you're up 10-7. So what is your strategy coming out in the second half? Are you going to be aggressive? And we saw again going back to Coach Reese's last game against Oklahoma State, just completely abandoned the running game. We threw the ball 64 times that game. And yeah, when I saw that, it made me nervous. And like, why did we take Audric Estime out of the game? He looked great. That I don't like. These are things I don't have answers to, right? But yes, that's accurate. But I think that we probably should have just stuck to the run, more just power running. We do so much. And again, I went to a football game earlier today, Mike. I went to a University of Wyoming game because 2 of the kids that I've worked with, they play there. And I was talking to a couple of the football dads, and I'm like, outside zones, wide runs into the boundary, they don't make sense. And being an ex-middle linebacker, like, please run a toss play. Please run something outside because we're just going to run it down. You can't run outside run plays against an Ohio State defense of all defenses, with the speed and the athletes they have over there. You got to, in my world, you just line up and run it down their throat. So sometimes I think Reese gets a little bit cute with that play calling and the play design.
This is a good comment. It's not a super chat, and it's scary that this is true. The wide receivers had 3 catches. So Mayer had 5, Bauman had 1. Really nice play by Bauman, by the way, getting that 22-yard reception. Tyree had a reception. Matt Salerno on that 31-yard catch. Lindsey had that beautiful kind of leaping grab there at the end of the third quarter. And then Styles ripped off that one, first few plays of the game that you thought should have been a touchdown. But, yeah, 3 receptions. I mean, Buckner only completed 10 passes on the night, but just 3 receptions for the Notre Dame receivers.
I'd say get used to it, folks. Now, you said, that Bauman had that great play. And this is what I'm talking about, Mike, in terms of, like, we've all heard the phrase, big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games, right? Things become a cliche for a reason because oftentimes they're true. Kevin Bauman should have scored. Where Tyler placed that ball was away from the middle safety, and then Bauman catches it and falls down. Go score, dude. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you're wide open, and you catch the ball and you just fall down. That's when, like, what is it going to take to win a big-time game like that? It's going to take a catch like that and then go score. Make somebody miss and then go score. Do you understand? It's stuff like that that drives me insane. And it's all across the board. It's just all these little 10% more effort across the board on any given play, and that's how you win a big-time game.
Andrew wants to know where we'll be ranked. That's tough to say without looking at the top 25 in front of me. I don't know. I think Notre Dame. Listen, this is how I feel on this. Neutrals. Probably, unless you just don't like Notre Dame, right? My father-in-law was watching the game with. He said, you either love Notre Dame or hate Notre Dame. But for those few neutrals, I feel like Notre Dame put off a good performance, right? Especially if Notre Dame usually gets beat in these big games pretty embarrassingly. Notre Dame was not embarrassed in this game. And if you think so, I just strongly disagree with you. So I think, folks in the coaches poll, AP poll, maybe not so much the AP poll, but coaches poll, like, I think that if you're a coach and you watch that game, like you would think Notre Dame's one of the 10 best teams in the country.
I wish that we could have scored, because what you got to look at the narratives, right? Because I mean, half the people that make these ratings are like the selection committee. How much football do they really watch, especially this early in the season? But the narrative going into the game was that Ohio State's defense was trash, right? That was kind of the narrative. The other narrative was that they've just got these first rounders at receiver. They've got 2, 3 first rounders in the team, and they beat the shit out of us running the ball. Right? I mean, their backs were the most impressive thing they had. So those two narratives weren't true. But going back to the first narrative that their defense was highly questionable, they lacked toughness, et cetera. So, and we only put 10 points up. So I think the 10 points kind of looks bad. Okay. Taking a step back and looking at it just because of that narrative that, I thought their defense was a little bit suspect, right?
Sure. Might have a little surprise for you here in a moment, Goolsby. We'll see if that comes together. Cage Kelly says Tommy just completely dropped the ball. Cage, or do you happen to be related to Brian? Just asking. Yeah, we've talked about Tommy Rees, offensive coordinator, in his performance. We thought it was Rees called a good game early. Look, it's one of those things that I don't know. If things go right, like if you're clicking offensively, it's like, yeah, we should. But if you're not, everyone just blames the quarterback or the offensive coordinator, whichever one you don't like. So you just kind of blame.
But he had a couple, like, again, the fake toss tight end down the seam to Bauman, brilliant play design, right? He had a couple like dang, I was texting you. My thumbs are sore after these games, so much texting. But and then the second half was a lot of outside zones. Outside, like, wide runs. And that doesn't work, but against a team with that much team speed on defense like in Ohio State. So to me, it's like, put Estime back in there. Let's go back to freaking grinding the game out. 3 yards, 4 yards. Buckner picks up a third down with his legs, or a little pop pass to Mayer. What's wrong with that? I mean, that's kind of the brand of football that we were prepared to see Notre Dame bring to this game. And then we just kind of, like I said, we lost that identity in the second half. It just felt like we were kind of grasping at straws. So versus Coach Rees dropping the ball, it just felt like we were grasping at straws in the second half, and just that lack of an identity. And you don't have any playmakers outside of at the receiver position, pass catching position outside of Mayer,
Yeah. Dennis says, you two are awesome. Call it like it is. No time to be a homer. And I have only been watching Notre Dame since 1966. Wow, Dennis, appreciate you joining us.
You're a good man, Dennis.
Yeah, you're a good man. So, Dennis, if you're still with us, the super chat was a hot minute ago. Let us know your favorite Mike Goolsby memory. So go ahead and drop that. But yes, really appreciate super chat. Well, comment here. Why didn't we spread the ball around to different wide receivers? Yeah, when the receivers caught the ball, it was clearly worked. So let me pull this back up. So you have, with those 3 receivers, Styles, Lindsey, and Salerno, that's 8 targets. 3 receptions on 8 targets, obviously not a good hit rate. You had Mayer, 5 receptions on 8 targets. Yeah, when they caught the ball, they did good things, but just not enough of it.
Yeah, well, try to answer that question simply, like, third down, traditionally speaking, is your passing down, depending if it's 3rd and 6 plus. And there's only one person in this offense that gets the ball on 3rd down. It's Michael Mayer. So that's a big reason. And it's interesting too, like, they move Mayer around so much. It's like he almost runs a route before the ball's even snapped, because they move him so much to try and get the defense to dictate what they're doing, or show the quarterback what they're doing. But yeah, we could do that with different people. I thought we could have done a lot. I still think we're going to do a lot with Tyree in the passing game. It's just such a natural thing. So many of those plays where several times they do a little inside run fake. Tyler rolls out to his right, and then he just kind of throws it to a tight end or throws it to a back. Why isn't there a deep post over the top of that, or a crosser on the backside? Because there's two two players in too close of an area, it's some of the stuff doesn't make a ton of sense. But again, folks, the other thing is our receivers are young as hell. They're young as hell. So the more I talk about it, though, Mike, this doesn't feel like that bad of a loss. It just doesn't.
Again, they were not outclassed.
Yeah.
Like, I was at the Georgia Notre Dame game in 2019, and that game was tight, but it felt like the entire time Notre Dame had no chance to win.
Well, I've come out of some of these big time games against premier opponents, Mike, and I've said, like, we're a fraud. Like, I've said that. Like,
not this one.
Not this one. Yep.
Yeah. All right, you ready for that surprise, Mike?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Big
What's
surprise.
up, Timmy?
Here we go. Oh my gosh.
I texted Tim. I was like, "Hey, you want to pop on and talk some ball?"
Hey, I'm going
Tim's
soft.
drinking.
I'm going soft and cuddly like Singer. I went and got a pumpkin ale real quick.
What do you mean
Mike.
soft and cuddly? You throwing some shade at me?
No, I love it. Hey, real quick, key to the football game. Rushing efficiency, meaning you get 4 yards or more. If it's 3rd and 2, you get a first down, 1st and goal, touchdown, that type. 37% for Notre Dame rushing. 37%. You know how bad that is?
Your
That's
thing
bad.
was just get attempts, right? That was one of your keys. Just
And
run
the
ball.
other key was attempts. We had 30. Notre Dame had 30 attempts.
I will say a few of those are Buckner. I think
Yes.
sacks count.
Yes.
So
Like 5.
yeah. So
I would maybe say 4 or 5. So yeah, I mean, you're looking at 25-ish, 26 true rushing attempts. And someone posted. I've been on the chat listening and stuff like that. Someone talked about that first drive, start the 3rd quarter. You hold them, you get the 15-yard penalty from Harrison, big old number 9. They're at midfield and they go 3 straight incompletions, and it's just like, oh, that was just a killer. But the run game efficiency. But I posted earlier, and I know I was texting with Goolsby during the game. For me, it felt like the offense looked exactly the same as last year. When every time Buckner came in the game, I thought it felt the same, outside of a counter, that they ran with the tight end, the double wings with the tight end. But I thought it looked the same. That the pass plays looked the same. I mean, you posted. I haven't seen the stats other than the few things you posted, Singer. And 5 catches for Mayer for 30 yards? That was the best tight end, supposedly. 30 yards on 5 catches. But I think Goolsby, right before I came on, said it's, he's running those 1-yard drag routes again. It's like, come on. That was just frustrating. But
yeah, I think that's the thing is,
yeah.
What is the identity? Because I think we came into the game wanting to play smash mouth football, and then we just got away from it. And that's like the concerning thing a little bit about Reese is, like, I felt like he was, again, discombobulated or was kind of on his heels the entire second half. It's like, okay, well, you have to have a place to stand as a team. So it's like, okay, we're going to lean on the offensive line. And granted, we're not like blowing holes open, but like at least it's progress. But
on top of that, Mike, is it's not so much, blowing holes. I felt, when I say the same offense, it felt like they're running, the inside zone with the pause again. When Diggs is in there, he just automatically pauses, it feels like, for a hair. And then you watch those Buckeye dudes. Those dudes are running downhill, and they're just going to go knock the hell out of you in about half a second. Those dudes were violent, physical runners. And that's what I expected Estime. I know, when I was texting with Singer, it was with the O-line, how frustrating it was. I thought the O-line had some good blocks, some outstanding double teams at times. But then, man, just go downhill and go violent. And I know you mentioned it earlier, Goolsby, where the Buckeyes they're an outside zone team. They're an outside zone. Notre Dame wants to run the ball inside, but they don't have the dudes that could bounce it. And inside zone, it's all about the cutback. And they don't have great cutback guys. They'll have some guys go straight ahead, but they don't cut back as great as some of the, like Josh Adams. Man, that dude could cut on a dime. So, I don't think they have that with the running backs.
They look different though too.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
The Travion Henderson looks the part. I mean, you got Tyree is a tiny little guy. So yeah, I mean, there's a difference.
All right, we really are going to have like a 2-hour show tonight because we still
Good.
have so much
Go
crap
through the
to talk
questions,
about.
blow through them, dude.
And now I'm kind of like, man, I just brought in Tim, so everything is about to be multiplied by 2 in the length of the time we answer these questions. So this next super chat we're going to get to was like a half hour ago. So Craig, I hope you are still here, but I did want to pull this up real quick. Look, Marcus Freeman in the media doing press conferences and all this stuff on social media and all these fun videos is, very light, very likable guy. He is a competitor, though. Like he said, we're not in this for moral victories. And Tyler Horka, who tweeted this photo earlier tonight, says he seems pretty distressed. He does not like to lose. Like Notre Dame thought they were going to win this football game. I'm going to have to skip ahead a few super chats. Matthew dropped us $100, so definitely appreciate that super chat.
That's a biggie right there.
He says, can you talk about 0 screen passes and only 1 designed quarterback run? Tim, will go to you first.
I'll take
and then Goolsby.
quick 30 seconds. I talked about this on the message board like a week ago with someone. I fully expected you have Dylan McCullough, a guy who's the best screen team in the world, the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid. I thought he was going to bring in some screenplay, some Andy Reid trick, not trick, but like some of the formations, the motions, the double pump fake screens that the Chiefs do. 0 of that. And that was shocking that, you didn't see any of that. That's why I keep going back to, I felt like we watched the exact same offense we did against Virginia outside of, a couple plays. It really felt like the same to me.
Mike, put the question up again. Well, it's kind of a twofold question, but I mean, traditionally speaking, I'm not a fan of the quarterback runs. Like the Buffalo Bills do that with Josh Allen, but Josh Allen's bigger than most linebackers, right?
Yes.
When we've always had these small-ish quarterbacks, I don't like design runs just because they tend to get hurt, specifically because people fit, like the linebackers and the D-line are fitting on that as if he were a running back, right? So it ends up being more of a physical play for the quarterback than if he was just playing backyard ball like we saw him do a couple times and take off. But then traditionally, Tim, you're running screenplays to offset heat, pressure, blitzes, etc. And we didn't see a ton of that from Ohio State. So that might be an answer. I mean, they were getting home. Shit, the one time we let the defensive tackle walk right in the backfield.
Hey, on that play, I heard you guys talking about earlier. That play, I went and watched it like 5 times over. Literally, Lug and Zeke, because the Herb Street was talking about how they did a full line slide to the left, and they literally did, and Lug just goes outward, and the dude just goes in a straight line. No one even chipped him.
Yeah.
Like,
and those guys have played way too much football, Tim.
Yes.
To let that
you got
happen.
a 6-year senior and a 4th-year senior. Let that guy split. It looked like when Tosh Baker and Kristofik were together for the first time last year, and that happened in a game. Oh, it was Zeke and Baker in the Wisconsin game when that guy's a 4-eye and goes and gets a sack instantly. And there was a couple others with Kristofik I thought came off his guys a few times early on one pressure. But the one big pressure, they brought 5 guys to 3 blockers. It's going to happen.
So that's the answer. My answer is, why do we see screens? We'll never know anything definitively, but I didn't think they were bringing enough pressure where you had to offset it with a screen. And I'm not a fan of the quarterback runs, drawn up runs. I think as a linebacker, Tim, imagine tackling Tyler Buckner in the open field. It's difficult because you want to kill him. As a linebacker, you want to kill him because it's a quarterback running the ball. And ironically, that makes it a more difficult tackle to make.
No, I know. But when it's 3rd and 16 and you're going to run a quarterback draw after you've just gone crazyville with the double safety blitz, you're aggressive on D, yet on offense, you're going to be conservative. That's what I didn't understand.
All right, boys. Sure. I've got to move this thing
Moving on.
Yep. Craig with the super chat again. This was at like 11:30, so I apologize, Craig. I blame Tim.
No, please do.
I thought some of the play calling was Manila, maybe Manila, when we had the ball at the OSU 36 in the second half and came away with nothing. That changed the momentum. Goolsby?
Leave that question up there, Mike.
Second
half and came away with I think personally the momentum changed going into the half. when we kind of had that wonky, quasi drive with 40 seconds left.
What was that?
I don't know what that was, and I'm telling
What
you,
was that?
something might have happened in the locker room or something. And they mentioned something on the broadcast, like one of the coaches used the term "stupid," like that was stupid. So I don't know. Something shifted at halftime because they came out swaggy as hell, and then the energy completely left us in the second half. So
no, I made a note of that. That was miscommunication, where on the fade route, where they missed that. But even the opening drive, I think of the third quarter, that first or second play, that wide receiver wide open for a touchdown that they missed by a hair. So
yeah,
I think this. I love this comment. I'm going to ask Pastor Dale at church tomorrow to put Notre Dame's offense on the prayer list. Yeah, that's,
whatever you can do,
whatever it takes. Stooch dropped a $5 super chat. If you have a question, Stooch, I missed it, so go ahead and post that if you're still here. Same with Sebastian. So if you guys are still here, and Paul, I missed all of your questions if you guys have posted those. So go ahead and do that.
No super chats on the coaching decision for the double safety blitz. No one's asked that.
Oh no, they have.
Okay.
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I must have missed that one then. Okay.
Yes.
No, there was like layers of stupidity to that, because like we were, again, Bracey, who again I thought played a great game and good for him,
He's a stud.
And then he goes out with cramps, so you put in a true freshman, and then you hang him out to dry on a double safety blitz. Like it's a double whammy.
Not only a double safety blitz, Ramon Henderson, I don't even know if I've even seen him in the game, comes in and just gives it away instantly. And they had one D lineman. They had a nose guard, Adamiola, 57 at nose, 2 stand-up ends. So basically 10 guys standing up and just zero disguise.
And that's what we get. We were talking about that too, Tim, like the amount of rotating. And I thought everybody, again, I said on our last pod, Mike, that Xavier Watts is staying at safety. You never said, no, he's moved to wide receiver. Bullshit. He's playing safety. We're rotating. So we have an All-American comes over from Northwestern, and we're rotating him out for DJ Brown or whatever. I mean, I think we played 6 safeties in this game.
Yes. Well, I wrote, halftime, because I started late and got caught up. And my halftime notes to you guys is I was not a big Brandon Joseph fan, because I thought he was extremely average last year in 2021 at Northwestern. I watched a couple of his games. I read some draft reports. Even the draft guys were like, whoa, he really took a dip from his 2020 All-American season. I'll tell you what, that first half, that dude was everywhere.
Yeah.
He was one hell of a football player.
And I like, more importantly, Tim, I think Brandon Joseph, especially with that young DB room, they're going to reflect his energy, right? They're going to mirror that. So I really liked his presence out there, just in terms of like the confidence that he brought.
It's like, it's like you said. I heard you say it earlier, Mike. He's an All-American. Why is he off the field?
And he's not a Kane Madden All-American. I think
he's a big, exactly. He played in the Big Ten. He went to the Big Ten title game against the Buckeyes. It's like he should not come off the field.
No, and call me crazy too, Tim. I love the way Xavier Watts plays. At least the way he comes downhill, anyways. I mean, he reminds me of Tim. You remember Glenn Earl? Earl?
Yeah, Glenn Earl will knock the hell out of you.
Oh yeah, and he was a converted wide receiver, like Xavier Watts closes so fast he almost doesn't come to balance to tackle, and I love it. So
he did tonight. He knocked the hell out of that guy, and he bounced off him.
Yeah. So, anyways, Mike, we got more questions.
Oh yeah, we do.
Good.
The best problem to have. We usually don't have so many super chats
because it's the Buckeyes, Mike. And I know you were talking about the frustration is Notre Dame was there. Notre Dame played its.
All right, Tim. What? So you texted me you were pissed.
Oh,
and I think I can't remember if I said this to you. I said it's your fault for having too high expectations, because this is what I expected. It was lower scoring. Actually, my initial pick was 24-19 Ohio State. And
it was for it. In blue and gold, you had a low scoring game. Yes.
And then for the website, I bumped it up a little bit, but I wish I would have stuck with it because, hey, Notre Dame did cover, by the way. So for folks who bet Notre Dame to cover, that did happen. But yeah, I'm thinking like I thought Notre Dame was going to lose, and I think they played a really competitive game and didn't lay the egg on a national stage. So again, if you thought Notre Dame was going to win, you're pissed, and I get it, but I didn't. So I mean, I think it's just an expectations thing.
Oh no, I agree, but it's those expectations where it's like, when is this? I heard Goolsby talking about this. It's the same. I mean, literally tonight felt like the same in so many other games, which is frustrating. It's like they were so close to getting over the hump and just telling the national media and everyone we're here. They were so close. They were so close. That double safety blitz is going to go down as a legendary. I mean, it's going to go down one of the worst calls in Notre Dame football history, bar none.
So what game did this look like to you? Like you said, this felt like all the other games. Like
it felt like all the other games. Well, it definitely felt like the Georgia game in 2019, but they lost to a better team.
So I think that Notre Dame looked like the better team tonight, and I think that Georgia looked like the far superior team against Notre Dame in 2019. Georgia just didn't play that great offensively against Notre Dame that year. I think that Notre Dame outplayed them for at least half the game. But
the issue, and this is the thing, it's a game one. The national media made this Buckeye team to be flawless. Flawless. They have one wide receiver returning. Everybody else is brand new, and they showed it.
Yeah,
but they showed it. They have their tight end. Their tight end goes out for a route once in a blue moon. They sat in 11 personnel. They never, when they went to 10, Stover was a slot. They lived in 11. Stover's a glorified fullback. The media just hyped this team up beyond, and sure, Notre Dame hung with them.
Goolsby, you got a thought?
What?
You look like you want to say something.
No, I mean, it's to Tim's point. I mean, it's especially doing these shows, it becomes like more magnified in terms of like that we keep having the same talking points over and over and over again. I do think that it wasn't as bad of a loss, Tim.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that, I almost point specifically at the secondary. I thought the secondary played well against, elite competition at the wide receiver position. So that gives me room for optimism, and especially because they were younger. And I mean, that's our last pod that we talked about. Like, give me more Benjamin Morrison and give me less Clarence Lewis. Like, give me more Xavier Watts and less DJ Brown. Like, let's move on with our lives, So there's reason for optimism there, but what's the same is that like our best players don't ever, outside of Michael Mayer,
they're not good. They're not.
They don't.
Yeah.
Like, dude, not to be Uncle Rico, glory days. Like my senior year, played Michigan, had 14 tackles, like 3 tackles for loss. Top 10 team. Played Tennessee, had 14 tackles, a sack, and interception for like. If you step up in a big game, that's why you go to a school like that.
But that's what stinks tonight. Ohio State runs for almost 200 yards, and the leading tackler at linebacker had 6 tackles. I think I saw 6 tackles against the Buckeyes, who ran the ball for a ton of yards.
Like 4.
Was it Bertrand or someone had
Kaiser?
He was the leading at linebacker.
We got Kaiser at total tackles. Sorry,
total, I'm sorry. Yeah, 6.
I'm sorry. I was looking at solo. Yeah, Kaiser had 6.
And Kaiser gets just eaten up out there on some runs. You don't even see him. He's so little. Those Buckeye guys are just hovering on him.
We call that Tim just getting washed.
Oh, washed.
They just get washed. They can't get out blocks, and so I mean that's just the
Mike. I mean you were a team captain. Obviously, the 2002 defense is legendary. 04 is just as good, and then Adamiola, number 57, goes out there and say they're the biggest, baddest dudes on the block. Where is he tonight? That's what's killer.
All right, we got to move along.
We got more?
Comment here. Defense was solid. Do we win with Pine? And then Ohio in questionable catches.
How do you win with Pine when you don't throw to receivers anyway? I mean they're living in 12 personnel, and Jaden Thomas is on the field. I was stunned how much he played. So he's the second best receiver outside of Styles, I guess. I was stunned.
The quarterback play is not the issue. It's just not. I think it's a lack of.
It's playmakers on the edges,
and a lack of identity, Tim. It's like if we're going to lean on the offensive ball and just hammer them with estimate them, fine, let's do that. That's good. I'll live with that and play defense. Well, until you get these receivers to develop.
Well, look in the Alabama game, in the Final Four game. They went on that 90-yard drive, running the ball, pounding the rock, got the game to 14-7. Then they quit running the ball. Tonight they go almost 90 yards, pounding the rock. And then they're mixing, trying to go 50-50 all the time. It's like,
but right or wrong though, fellas, we lost the game tonight because they beat the shit out of us running the ball.
Yes.
Which is ironic because this game was billed as the greatest show on turf, and ironically they ran it down our throats.
I said
and I
that
thought
at
we were
halftime.
the ones. Yeah,
I was like, Ryan Day should just run the ball and he wins this football game. It's like, quit throwing the football. And he in the second half they just pounded the rock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Move along. Folks, if you're dropping super chats, if you can type in a question, that helps me find your question. If you just drop super chat without a question, then I gotta ask you to post it. So try to do that. Phil says, would have loved to see Tobias, of course, Tobias Merriweather. He's speaking of the freshman receiver from Washington, thrown out there when Ohio State was daring Buckner to throw one-on-one on the edge. Tim, obviously you covered Merriweather with me when he committed. Do you think that he would have made a difference? I don't know. What do you think?
Give him a shot to the run, right? I mean, all we heard about was he's the second fastest player, I guess, during the summer. Some people thought he was the fastest. I saw his dad posting stuff on Twitter like he's beating guys in all the 40s. I mean, the guy's 6'4". Throw him a lob ball, see what he does.
Why? Wait. Why would we do that when we can throw it to Matt Salerno?
Yeah.
Get real, dude.
I mean, we threw 2 deep balls to Matt Salerno. Nothing against Matt Salerno. Went to Crespi.
Truly.
Nothing against that whatsoever. But
was not expecting that.
No, I don't.
One of them worked.
Well, that was a heck of an effort and a great catch by that guy, right in front of Brian Hartline, who was like, "All right, nice catch, buddy."
Okay. No Joe Wilkins. If he was 100%, you think you would have seen Joe Wilkins in there. I was a little surprised by that, but I love Joe Wilkins. But if he was healthy and they picked Jaden Thomas over him, then Jaden Thomas must be really good.
I would look at that as a good thing in my world. I'm all for playing younger talent. If all things being equal, I don't play that seniority BS. Play the young kid.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Tom says whole scheme is wrong. Power run under center, shotgun every play because Buckner is option read run. Quarterback has the arm talent, but not a good quarterback. Pine playmaker. So
I'll pass on this. Take it. I'll pass. I'll pass. Pine's a playmaker, but quarterbacks are playmakers with guys on the perimeter and the edges. Who's Notre Dame throwing it to? I mean, I picked Lorenzo Styles to be the breakout player this season. Where was he? 1 catch, I think you put up, Mike, on the stats. I think I saw.
Yeah.
And that was the first, second play of the game, the RPO. So, and that's the other thing. I was surprised they didn't try and do some more RPO, some more quick game. The biggest weakness last season was Ohio State's secondary and the third down defense, one of the worst ones in college football. I'll tell you what. Jim Knowles got a pay raise, $2 million a year to be to DC. That dude is worth every penny times 10. He's a stud DC. He was
and you bring up a good point about that. That was our biggest complaint about Jack Cohn last year was in that RPO game, quarterback read, quarterback decide. Nobody ever honored it because he was slower than Tim is.
Yes.
So it's like but we didn't. That's my biggest issue with the offenses. Is like there's too many ingredients, and then you're like, well, what is this meal? What am I eating? What's in? There's too much stuff in it, right? So just give me meat and potatoes or give me pasta, right? So like we don't really have an identity, and I think I think Reese is a great play caller, but again, last year he had a horrendous offensive line, and we made it work, and then this year you could say the same thing about the wide receiver group. It's suspect.
Just real quick, Mike, is it's funny you talk about identity. People talking about on the message board all the time. Oh, we need to go to this modern offense, Ohio State's modern offense. You know what Ohio State runs? Outside zone, and they throw a couple bubble screens. They throw some fades to some freaks, and they must have threw about 6-7 just hitches today, just quick dumps where they turned and made a couple first downs on a few. So their offense is not all these dig routes and all these combo switch patterns and things like that. I think way more vanilla where they're just like, we got dudes. Let's just get them the ball and go make a play.
No doubt.
Literally their run game is outside zone right, outside zone left, throw a hitch to a fast guy, go break it and make plays. I mean, it is very, very, very easy, efficient style of offense.
All right, smooth this thing along. Go Irish says, what's the most important thing Notre Dame needs to do to work on in practice this week?
Great question.
Defense and offense. Yeah, let's move along. We'll look at what's next. So let's go with Tim. Give your offense, and Goolsby, can you give defense? Tim,
I'll go defense. I'll go first.
Okay.
I would say pass rush. Again, Foskey was disappointing. Like in teaching kids, Tim, like in terms of throwing a pass rush move, you got to throw the move. It either works or it doesn't work. But you can't just play patty cake with people on a pass rush. So that's what I would probably work on. Because again, I thought the secondary held up, and then linebackers getting off blocks. But they're if you've got a 6'1", 220-pound inside linebacker that's just getting enveloped by a 6'5", 325-pound guard, there's not much you can teach him. Yes. So I'd work on getting after the quarterback. Tim, offense.
Offense is, what is the identity? What do you want to do with Buckner in the pass game? What is the pass game? I mean, it's obvious. There was I think 3 times Mayer was by himself in the boundary. Well, where's he throwing to? Mayer in the boundary. And that's the biggies. What is this pass game going to be? If you're going to be a 12 personnel team, that's what I fully expected. Bauman's going to be the inline tight end. Mayer's going to be the flex out, the wing guy, the motion guy, that type of thing. So be it. Who in the heck are you throwing to on the outside? You have to have a guy to go win one-on-one football plays out there. So Buckeyes did it. By the way, that sophomore at Mecca, that guy, holy moly, is he legit. Yeah. He's a good football player. That guy's a stud.
And Bauman sucks at blocking in space, Tim.
I thought both did, tell you the truth. At least in the early on, I thought Mayer whiffed on some blocks.
I give Mayer more of a pass because he's Michael Mayer. But I mean, there's a couple plays where Bauman's like, "Where's your feel for the game?" Like they're pursuing inside out, and you're looking outside in. It's like
there's one chip where they were running to the right, and he came down. It's like, dude, how do you not see that linebacker right there? Because when I watch it live, I go by, I take notes. Sometimes, I'll usually rewind real quick and watch it and try and do a quick grade, see who whiffed a few times. So, that's going back to the O-line. I thought there's some really nice blocks at times, and it was just, I thought the backs just attacked slow.
I wish we could have had this game. We got to move on, but I wish we could have had this game like week 3.
Well, next year it's week 4.
Yeah.
It's week 4.
Yeah, at home as well. Tim, I shot you a text message if you can take a peek at that real quick. B. Holland drops, it looks like a couple super chats, so definitely appreciate this, my man. Says, how did you feel about the run-pass mix tonight? Only touchdown drive. Estime seemed to have it rolling and opened things up. Goolsby?
Yeah, I'm all for, again, going back to having a place to stand, developing an identity. The offensive line is much more of a strength than our wide receiver group. You've got a brand new quarterback that you're trying to break in, still has his training wheels. And Estime looks the part. It should have been, to me, in this matchup, 60% run, 40% pass. And then I just think Buckner's a unique enough athlete where if we're going to call a passing play, he goes through 1-2 progression and just take off, dude. Go. Make plays.
I agree with you on Estime. He's the guy. Let him pound the rock. Just let him pound the rock. Diggs, you're a backup. And then Tyree was only in the behind, as a tailback, maybe only 2 or 3 times today. His carries, I thought, were on the fly sweeps more than I think he had a couple, 3 of those and maybe only 3 regular runs. So where is Estime? He only had 9 carries.
Yeah, they featured him the first couple drives, and then they put him on a shelf.
Wow. Yeah, like I said, I didn't keep track of the stat. Oh man, 9 carries! Wow.
Tim, I got to go like 30. You got 30 seconds.
Sure.
Did it surprise you that Tyree was the third running back that they put out there. Like it was Estime, Diggs, Tyree.
Yes. I was surprised in that he's a really good outside zone runner. So I thought they would attempt some outside zones. We've heard a lot about the great block in and, the tackle tight end combos. We didn't see any perimeter runs against these guys other than jet sweeps.
Right. Chief Brody says, get ready to root for OSU for the rest of the season. Going to have to ride their coattails into the playoff. Let's just take this thing one game at a time, Chief.
We got Marshall next.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. Appreciate the super chat though, Chief, and all the support. Jacob says, it seemed to me that the inability to run had a lot to do with the Ohio State having 8 in the box and trying to test Tyler Buckner's arm. So, Tim, that's something we talked about in our final thoughts video. Yeah. Is this what happened?
Yeah.
Or was it more of Ohio State put 4 on the line and just beat Notre Dame's 5 offensive line and maybe bomb? And like, what was it?
Well, that's going back to what Goolsby's talked about as an identity. I mean, Ohio State's identity is we got a front 4. We're going to put our hand in the ground. We're going to come after your butt. But yeah, definitely. They just locked up outside. And we had talked, I mean, we've been talking about this since the spring football, where we fully expected them to load the box. You got to beat these guys outside, even a deep out route or something, a comeback route. They just didn't attempt them. They did not try and go outside on the perimeter whatsoever. What were the stats?
But ironically, Tim, you mentioned earlier we're an inside zone team. Most of what I see is everything's off tackle. And again, their speed on defense, that ain't going to work. I mean, you're better off just lining up and running downhill to me.
True. But, I'm one of those old school guys where it's like just attempt it, just keep them fine. And then, the old go outside to soften up the inside, so to speak. So
sure.
Okay. And run from there, which they did with just jet sweeps.
All right. We got some love for Mike Goolsby. Dennis says, I loved Mike. He always played 100% all the time. I was at MIB in high school, been a military guy for the last 45 years. Mike is the man. Stay positive. We will be okay. Tim Hyde, also a military guy as well. So, Dennis, you should also love Tim. Yeah. You don't got to love me. I understand.
He must be in the Army then. That's okay. Just kidding, obviously.
Fashion AL Flip says this was a measuring stick game, so now we know.
Yeah. Now it's the same story. We look better at defensive back than I've seen us previously in terms of big games, and I think so. That's been our Achilles heel is size on the defensive line. Talent outside at receiver and DB. I feel better about the DB position. I still think we need more size on the interior defensive line, just dudes, man. And then the wide receiver position is still a huge question mark. So I think if there was 3 boxes there, I think we can check the DB box, the secondary box. I feel more confident there. And gosh, we're so close to making so many plays. Just how could you just not get a fingertip on one of those? It's like, but yes, I think that's what we don't know about the wide receiver group, and I think the defensive line is just going to come down to recruiting in time.
Steven says, Mike, don't text Tim and say speed things up. I actually texted him to tilt his camera a little bit just to frame himself in. I didn't.
Cheers to Steven. I know, Steven. I'm hyped up. So.
That's a good one. Tom says, one play under center tonight, the only touchdown. Is that true? You guys, is that
sound right? That was that was the fullback dive to Estime on the 1 or 2 where he dived over. So that's just.
But to Tom's question though, fellas, again, my ask in a game like this is to run downhill. Putting a quarterback under center is much more conducive to doing that. Yeah. In my world, but.
Well, that's they pulled Kristofic. I know 2 that I remember. Where they're trying to run that, one back gap to the tight end side. It was so slow. Just got eaten up.
Tim, do you want to give any thoughts? I don't think we've talked about Buckner with you. What did you think about Buckner's performance?
I'll tell you what, man. I want more, and I think that's what's that's the most frustrating thing is I want to see him do more. I feel that's why I kept saying.
Tim, let me interrupt. When you say that, do you mean like he wasn't unleashed or like?
Yes. That's why I felt this off. I felt I was watching last year's Virginia game, when he came in and they're going to run a couple Buckner things, a couple 1 yard dumps to Mayer and jet sweeps, the motions. Yes, I mean, it goes back to the pass game. The guy could throw. There were some darts the dude threw tonight. He could throw the ball. I mean, even that RPO where he's getting crushed by the stud sophomore DN 44 by Iowa State, boom, he zings it out there to Styles. So the guy can throw. And I don't, I mean, obviously we're not there at practice. We're not there watching, the X and O's, break down in the practice and seeing all the stuff that, that the coaches are seeing. I just don't, for the life of me, just go 4 wides at times and let this guy sling it out. He could throw. The guy can, he has an arm, unless I'm just blind. The dude could throw.
All right, Goolsby, you've given your thoughts on Buckner, so we're going to move along real quick. Comment here, our punter was the MVP tonight. Shout out to John Sott, I guess.
Solid.
Yeah, Carlos Robinson dropped a super chat and then said, why didn't we ever call a screenplay against an aggressive defense? I feel like a well-timed screenplay could have been a big-time play. I feel like this is not the first time Notre Dame's lost a game, and the comments are about where's the screenplays. Does Reese not like screenplays? Goolsby I don't know. What do you think?
I go back to what I said earlier, that every defense is aggressive. It's the nature of playing defense. You run a screen to catch them off guard in a blitz. Like you'd run a well-timed draw against the right type of blitz is a home run as well. So, but if a team like Ohio State isn't blitzing, then it's not as good of a fit schematically. That's my answer.
All right. So Sebastian dropped a super chat earlier and then gave a comment here. Someone popped this on the screen. Buckner had no time to set his feet. Playmakers didn't get the opportunity. Styles and Lindsey ran 23 miles per hour, no seam routes. Throw them open to get tight end lead block. Quarterback run worked great. Why not more? Tim, I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, I'm just reading it, and it's everything we've talked about, trying to get the ball outside on the perimeter some more. Great point about Lindsey. I mean, Lindsey, all we've ever heard about is how fast he is, how fast he is, how fast he is. Go up top or a screen. It's going back to, people are talking about the screens. The Buckeyes threw 4 or 5 bubble screens today. Just boom.
You could throw a bubble. Right. And Tyler's the perfect quarterback to do that because his release is so damn quick.
You get the zone read bubble screen. He throws that sidearm stuff. Stroud,
but also
4 or 5 bubbles. They run the line pass, which I call the outside receiver just block on the line, and the slot goes and picks up the corner. They did a handful of those today. It's just frustrating with the passing attack.
Did have that one screen to Mayer on the goal line and picked up a first down. I completely agree. Buckner can throw a good.
But I'll say this about Braden Lindsey. Braden Lindsey is not a natural receiver to me. He's just not. He's just
Buckeyes.
A little stiff.
Well, but he's. I would say you watch Randy Moss play and you watch Terrell Owens play, right? They're both Hall of Famers, but Terrell Owens was I think he became a player like the player he was just based off of effort and work, whereas Randy Moss is just a natural talent. I don't think that Lindsey's fast, but I just don't think he's a great natural receiver in terms of natural hands, ability to go up and high point a ball. But to your point, Tim, in terms of everybody wants to run this new age, high-powered, high-octane Ohio State offense, put a stud out there like Merriweather, given the right look, single high safety, whatever is the case, and just throw him a jump ball. It's a 50. What's the worst that's going to happen?
It's not overthink this. I mean, we heard he was the most impressive freshman all camp. He's out there dominating. He's so tall. Sometimes that's what gets so frustrating. Throw the dude a freaking fade.
Yeah.
And try something,
Okay. Dennis with a super chat and some comments and question. First quarter, third down, deep in our own territory. Buckner completes a pass to Mayer, who ran the route 2 yards short of the sticks. Why?
Ask him. I mean, exactly. I know exactly the one he's talking about. And then they had one incomplete to him later on as well. That was going to be short. And there was a pass completed in the first half that was short where they had to punt. It ended up being 4th and 1. I mean,
you ever wonder if Michael Mayer
It's frustrating.
Gets frustrated that, like, can somebody help me out? I mean, granted, he's going to fill up the stat sheet every single week, but, like, goddamn, guys, can somebody else get open for once?
Well, on the Bauman, on Kevin Bauman's catch, go back and watch it. 2 dudes jump Mayer. 2 guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sitting there in tight end wing, and 2 guys literally just run at Mayer, and Bauman's.
But this is what, I don't know if you heard earlier, Tim, but we will move on here in a sec, Mike. But, like, Bauman should have scored on that play. He's wide freaking open.
Wide open.
Tyler throws the ball away from the safety. Bauman looks over the wrong shoulder. And again, that's the stuff that drives me insane. Go be a star, man. Everybody's watching the game. You catch it and fall down like a bum, you know? Well, it's stuff like that in these games that just drives me insane.
well, that goes back
to me nuts.
Well, these are the guys. I guess Notre Dame gets. I mean, obviously Notre Dame has really good football players, no doubt about it. But teams like Ohio State, they just have dudes that could run. Styles catches that ball, no one's on him, and he ends up getting caught.
So well, he was trying to set that safety up, but yeah.
I know it's but it just always feels like if that's a Bama dude, it's one cut and he's gone. Where Notre Dame,
I think they play with more confidence.
Yeah.
All right. And they're just raw ability. Yeah.
Andy, we do appreciate the super chat, but I don't know if anyone agrees with your comment here.
I'll agree that he looked a little shaky. Again, he's got a little bit of anxiety. He's running the show, but dude, the guy hasn't played a lot of football. He has a ton of physical gifts. And Buckner's not even close to, in terms of the top 5 reasons we lost the game. He's not even in the top 10.
Yeah, he was efficient. He was solid. No turnovers, right? I mean, he was.
I'm just thinking if this was Jack Cohn and Jack Cohn put up this exact same performance, would we be saying the same thing, or do people just love Tyler Buckner so they're giving him, some love?
No. I think it's the frustration. I'm going to go back and rewatch the game again tomorrow, but I kid you not, it felt like, all right, Buckner's in. We're only going to run these 6 plays again. I need to go back and rewatch it, but it felt like it was the same exact package, which is I'm stunned. I'm stunned.
Goolsby, do you disagree with me there? It's not so much that's how I feel. It's just kind of thrown out of thought.
But
so what's your point, Mike?
Mike, he only threw 18 passes, right? Last time we saw Jack Cohn, he threw 70.
64. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Mike, what was your question though? So if Jack Cohn had the same stat line,
well, is Buckner getting a pass because everyone loves Tyler Buckner?
It doesn't sound like Buckner's getting a pass based off these super chat questions.
That's true. That's true. At least with you guys, maybe not a pass, but to be fair, I do agree. I think, like I said earlier in the show,
I think Tim has a trained eye. He's been coaching ball his whole life. I would like to think that I have a fairly trained eye. We can see the physical gifts and the tools that he has. The frustration that Tim and I probably share, and maybe a lot of people do share, is that he's being kind of hamstrung, right? In terms of like they're limiting the play selection for whatever reason. So like Tim saying that the offense hasn't evolved in terms of like the layers of how you can use him, right?
Yeah. Okay.
No, I mean, here's what look at this one drive. Right? I mean, they threw the ball a bunch on first down today too in the second half. They were coming out second half throwing it, which goes back to Goolsby. Like, you're winning 10-7. Come out and just pound the rock some more. Keep getting physical. Keep getting physical. Frustrate the living hell out of Ohio State. And it felt like the incompletions started to pile up, and those Buckeyes got beyond confident. And the crowd fed off of that as well.
All right, we got a few more super chats, then we're almost caught up. Paul says our offensive identity will develop in the next 3 weeks. 11 wins coming up. And Goolsby, best Omaha pizza.
Ooh, nice.
I'm not a big pizza guy. Big Fred's is a place by my house. They got good pizza. That's my answer. But I agree with in terms of the offense evolving. That's why I said earlier, gosh, I wish this game could have been played a month from now. Work some kinks out.
I'll pop up the schedule here. It's
yeah. I mean, you got Marshall, Cal. Then you have to go to at UNC. So didn't UNC score like 98 points today or something? I don't know who they play. I just saw the score.
They played Appalachian State.
Oh God, that must have been like, what was the score? It was insane, right?
Appalachian State scored 40 points in the fourth quarter.
I just saw the final score and I thought they were playing basketball. I was like, my God.
Apparently, it was higher than the basketball score when the two teams played.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, there's a look at the upcoming schedule here.
You got UNC, then the bye. Okay, so you got 3 weeks to get your mind right, get ready for BYU.
Yeah, I can't imagine California is a juggernaut defensively.
I'm going back to this Tyler Buckner thing.
Okay.
I don't know why that kid would get any grief.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't he didn't turn the ball over. He started the game 8 for 8. What the hell do you want?
He didn't sit in the pocket, Goolsby. He didn't sit in the pocket and he didn't hold the ball like, Ian Book would do and get scared.
And he will get more and more comfortable, more and more confident. But even when he had pressure in his face, Tim, and he's fading away, throwing off his back foot, he's still dropping dimes.
Yeah.
I mean, those are nice balls.
Yeah. I agree.
All right,
only 18 passes. 18 passes and Estimate gets 9 carries. That's stunning.
Yeah. Total plays, Notre Dame only had 48.
What?
48 total plays compared to Ohio State's 60.
Yeah, but I checked at halftime. Both teams had 28 plays, offensive snaps in the first half.
I saw this.
Well, that's the story of the game, though, Mike. We were
this.
Our stats in the first half. We had better first half stats. We both had 28 offensive snaps in the first half. Ohio State beat us with our supposed formula, which was just to pound the rock.
Look at that.
And that's why we didn't get the ball back in the second half, because they were just. And then the pressure gets dialed up on Reese. Like, I'm only going to get 3 possessions in the second half or what have you. So then what do I call? And I do think there's a little bit of a pucker factor there. I think Reese instinctively, Reese would prefer to throw the ball than run the ball. I do think that.
I got the halftime stats pulled up. Notre Dame had 181 yards compared to Ohio State's 149. Like Mike said, 28 total plays. Even time of possession, Notre Dame had them beat 16 minutes to 13 minutes compared to Ohio State ended up having the ball 6 more minutes.
The whole thing was in inverse. The whole game was like a mirror of each other. Our formula, they took our first half formula and they sort of used it in their second half formula. And then, Tim, if we take away that double safety boneheaded play, kick a field goal there, it's a totally different game.
Yes. Notre
You got
Dame
any more
had
questions, Mike?
20 plays for 72 yards Notre Dame had in the second half. 20 plays, 72 yards.
Brutal.
Yeah, and like 16 yards in the fourth quarters. Yeah, not good. Just ND Gal says it was the play calling. Where were the Tyree crossing routes running digs up the middle? What, guys, you know what's up.
I don't understand the Tyree crossing routes, because Tyree was just in there to run some slots and to be a second back, fake in a way. So he's not really the big crossing route guy. I was expecting that with Lorenzo Styles, but they lived. I heard you guys talk about this earlier, and I mean, Bauman and Mayer were on the field together 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Bauman, I think I charted it maybe 3 times, if I'm right, 3 times without Mayer on the field where Mayer needed a blow. The rest of the time, it was 12 personnel all day long.
But to the question, though, I do think we only try and create mismatches with Mayer.
Yes. Right?
We try and move him, chess piece. I think Tyree has enough kind of unique ability where, like I said, like if you put him and Estime in the backfield and then explode, Tyree goes in the slot. Now he's matched up on a linebacker. We pull a linebacker, and then you could do a lot with 2 back sets versus 2 tight end sets. I mean, I was talking about that when I was going 22 personnel.
Well,
but yeah, I think Tyree will play in the NFL. I do, because I think that a smart offensive coordinator. He's fast and he catch the ball.
Well, that goes back to the personality. Is Kevin Bauman on the field better than a Chris Tyree? Is Bauman on the field better than putting Styles at the slot? Thomas and Lindsey on the outsides? Is that truly the best fit for Notre Dame offense? Is 2 tight ends every single play? I mean, they're going doubles. They were going doubles, 2 by 2, 4 wides with Mayer and Bauman as the 2 slots tonight. It's wild.
All right. We got one more super chat and we're caught up. So Matthew says, frustrated with the narrative with our program. We need a marquee win. Clemson COVID year was it. With it was Trevor Lawrence wasn't in. Give me that dub, Irish. Yeah.
I'm not answering this one, Mike. I always get in trouble.
Goolsby, any thoughts?
I mean, so I live in Nebraska, right? And Coach Scott Frost takes a ton of heat, and rightly so, right? But so in this instance, like, yeah, you could point the arrow at Coach Reese, but as an ex-player, you have to take ownership of the wins and losses as well. And like when they go back and watch that film, whether it's Cam Hart, whether it's Clarence Lewis, whether it's Isaiah Foskey, like, man, I didn't do much.
Yeah.
Like, I could have tipped that pass, and it's like, I didn't do it. So and that's the beauty of football. Yeah, gosh, it's just, I wish we could have carried that same energy that we had in the first half into the second half. And I think we'd be having a different conversation. So
that goes back real quick, Mike, when we talk about, the defense was gassed and tired. And I'm sitting there watching the game because, you could feel that narrative, but it's going back to your point. They rotate every couple plays. It's a hockey team. How the heck are you tired? I bet you Foskey and Adam Iola, number 9, played the same amount of snaps. So how is he tired?
I do want to mention we'll have a snap counts article at blueandgold.com in a couple of days, so that will be one that's
always
very interesting.
Yeah, Patrick Engel does a great job breaking down that. He really does. That's always one of my favorite pieces.
A lot of work, yeah.
But Foskey. I mean, Paris Johnson just owned him all night long, the left tackle, and he played guard last year, and he just owned him tonight.
All right. Well, I can get to some of my questions that I had for Goolsby that I was going to ask him about an hour and 45 minutes ago.
Let's do it, Mike. I want to hear these.
Captain Mike, play of the linebackers. What do you think? I don't think we've talked much about the linebackers. Obviously, your position, and you're very critical on the linebackers because you know a lot about the position, obviously. You spent a couple of years in the NFL, again, captain at Notre Dame. So what did you think about these linebackers tonight?
I thought they were, again, average. I think, Bauer flashed a couple times, which I like to see. I mean, one play was on special teams, but I thought they were average. And they didn't get their hands on one tip pass. I didn't see many tackles for loss. And again, it's some of this stuff. It's hard to be critical of these kids because they're just physically, they're limited in terms of being able to like get off a block or, it's called the reduce technique, Mike, where like you get a guy, or Tim, you might be familiar, like you get a lineman to lean one way and then you take away your blocking surface and you slip it either back door or front side. Like they don't do that. So they just kind of a lot of catching. They catch and they just get washed. And so I would say it was average.
Yeah, for a team that does so much shades and gaps, they sure do have a tendency to like catch the guards or head up so much instead of what is your shade? Are you the B gap player? Then you should be fitting that shoulder off of that. It always seems to be
it's like when I teach when a linebacker comes to me for the first time, it's almost. And I heard Ray Lewis say this. So Ray Lewis won defensive MVP playing in a 3-4, and he won MVP playing in a 4-3. And he's like, I'm not paid to take on blockers. He's like, but I can do it. But I want to play in a 4-3 because that's my job is to make tackles, not take on blockers. So like you teach a young high school kid, if I'm playing linebacker and I'm about to take on this guard, who can see the ball carrier, me or the guard? Well, me, I can see it. So he doesn't know where the ball's hitting. So I can make him think I'm going this way and come back underneath. And we don't do a lot of that.
No.
So I would say it was average. And then the other thing is, man, too, 2 of your captains are in that linebacker group and you come out here and just kind of a performance that's disappointing.
Okay. A couple comments here from the YouTube chat that I wanted to bring up. So Jimmy says Marshall's licking their chops. Now, I don't know if you're joking at all, Jimmy, but I'm just thinking how if I'm Marshall, I'm like, oh, Notre Dame just went on the road with all these young guys and went toe-to-toe with Ohio State. And then Brendan says Oregon got embarrassed today. Now, if Notre Dame put out an Oregon performance, that was an embarrassment. Notre Dame was not even close to being embarrassed in this football game.
No, this wasn't a bad loss. It was. I wish we would have scored more than 10 points, though.
if you just put this game in a vacuum and just look at this game, it's not a bad loss. But when you add in the context of, Notre Dame never wins these big ones, I get it, Notre Dame fan. But when we're just looking at this season, we haven't even talked about Marcus Freeman being a first-time head coach yet. We're an hour and 15 minutes in. We haven't even talked about that aspect, going to the shoe where he was such a great linebacker. We haven't even talked about that aspect, along with, the young quarterback, the limited weapons at receiver. So, Tim, any thoughts?
But what's killer is you hold a team that could put 50. They were up 49-0 last year against Michigan State. So this team could go 100 miles an hour in a heartbeat, and Notre Dame held them to seven damn points until the stupid double safety blitz.
Yeah.
That's just like Notre Dame was right there to finish this thing, and it felt like some coaching calls is what killed this game. Some of the players did not step up. I'll go back to Goolsby. You got Foskey. You want to be a first-round draft choice? Where were you? Paris Johnson's going to be a first-round draft choice. Cam Hart, people were talking about him being a first, second round because of his length. And Cam Hart got abused the first half by their wide receivers. So some of their big-time elite NFL dudes weren't there. Howard Cross was a stud today. I texted Goolsby this. Chris Smith, the Harvard guy, played his butt off today.
I just wish he was a little bit better athlete because he got penetration. But if he could just kept his feet a couple times, he's not. He's a limited athlete, but
sure.
he
flashed. He played his tail off. And Tariq Bracy, Goolsby texted me. I said I agree. He's the defensive MVP of this game. He played outstanding. And then Benjamin Morrison was all. Benjamin Morrison may have played. He was out there. He was rotating. He was on the field like 4 straight series, rotating with Lewis and Hart while they were on the bench. So
I'll say
Morrison's a dude.
I've coached corners. I had a corner that's at Oregon, right? Benjamin Morrison is a better corner than Clarence Lewis.
Yes.
End of conversation.
Yes.
Because some of these plays they run it back. Slow-mo replay, better technique, better footwork, better athlete, longer.
How about
He's
the
a better
attitude?
player.
How about the attitude?
He's a better player.
Yeah, just the attitude he played with, like, let's go. He got up in someone's face after one catch and it's Henderson after a big run, and Morrison put his head in there, and Morrison's like, let's go. And he just got right in Henderson's face. So
longer athlete, faster, better feet, better hips, more competitive. Yeah, he's going to be a good player.
Any thoughts on this super chat? Marcus Freeman should still be the defensive coordinator and call plays.
He's the head football coach at University of Notre Dame.
Yeah, too late now, bud.
Yeah, he's the head football coach at Notre Dame. He needs to run the Notre Dame program, recruit his tail off, keep replenishing this roster, finish a great recruiting class, as Singers talked about, get on the 2024 and just keep compounding players.
But to touch on that question, though, I thought Al Golden called, and I don't know the dynamics between, I assume Coach Freeman has the final say, but I thought that Al Golden played a much more vanilla defense, more not as aggressive.
Except for when he did a double safety play.
Well, that might have been Freeman's call. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not as many Mike and Will, like Goolsby.
That's what I'm saying.
Not as many of the Mike and Will pops who drove us nuts last year. And guess what, Goolsby? Only one play tonight in the traditional Marcus Freeman 3-3. And guess what? They ripped off a 9-yard outside zone.
Yeah, but it was number 9 playing inside linebacker.
And he got mocked. He got devoured.
It was early.
I know.
Okay. So, Tim, when we did that final thoughts observations video, you said for Notre Dame to win, the D-line had to dominate.
Oh.
They had that early sack, and you're like, okay, Howard Cross is making some. Who did have that sack, by the way?
It was Howard Cross.
Yeah, it was Cross.
It's
like, okay, yeah, they're cooking, and then not so much. So, how big of a impact or lack thereof? No, let me ask it like this: how big of an impact was Notre Dame's defensive line not having a strong game towards the Irish team losing today?
It was huge because Ohio State was just. Ohio State ripped off 5, 6, 8, 9-yard runs consistently. Put the stats right back on, Mike. There's only 2 tackles for losses, and the Buckeyes were running, and it shows you, going back to Goolsby's comment about size, space eaters, dudes up front that could just handle a 2 gap, so a backer, could get over the top and make plays. And they only had, I think, 2 tackles for losses. Cross's TFL, which came on the sack, and Tariq Bracy. So no one else in the front 7 got a tackle for loss for as many times as they started to churn up the run game. That's a massive disappointment for this front that we've been told for 9 months, this D-line's the team leader. This D-line's going to dominate. This is the best unit during fall camp. And then Adamiola with the quote, "Oh, we're the biggest, baddest dudes on the block." And they didn't perform. They didn't perform over 4 quarters. Sure, a quarter, 2.5 quarters, all that stuff. Over a course of 4 quarters, they did not.
All right, Matthew just dropped another super chat. Also, the guy that dropped us the big one earlier. So, Matthew, if you got a question, please, my friend, go ahead and post that. Goolsby, do you have any thoughts on the D-line before we got on another topic?
I just thought in the second half they got their asses kicked.
Yep.
And it was, literally you could just see the movement. And so we don't have the size, so we counter that with quickness. And, I've been around some big dudes before, like, Flozell Adams is the biggest human being I've ever seen, played left tackle for the Cowboys. I don't care how quick you are. Some of these men are so big, you can't get around them. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, I'm going to counter the size with quickness. It's like, if he's big enough, it don't matter.
That's
like North Carolina. Remember the North Carolina game? North Carolina had a massive offensive line. Massive. I don't even know if they were good. But if you just put them on a train track and they're just moving people out of the way. So you're going to count that with
their right tackle tonight. That guy Jones is. If Flozell Adams, the biggest guy, please go meet Jones, because that is the largest human I've ever seen on a football game. That guy is huge. And to your point, Goolsby, they're running outside zone. The guy's not a good blocker. He may never play in the NFL because he's just not, he'll probably end up playing right guard in the NFL. But he's just like engulfs Foskey and Adamiola and Riley Mills. Did Riley Mills play tonight? Did he play? I don't think so. But
he was out there. His
but
that line 3 tackles, 1 solo.
When I rewatch the game, I'll see where the tackles were. So I don't know if they do pile-ons these days. So,
Tim, what did you think of the offensive line tonight?
Kristofic was very average. Killer not having Patterson. I thought
average is a kind way of saying he played like shit.
Yes, he was.
That's what we're saying. Like, he's average. He played poorly.
He was not good. He came off a couple of double teams. He got beat on 1 pass. He was bad. Joe Alt looked really good. Fisher's just. Fisher's the guy you want. You want Fisher and Alt. You want tall, big, giant dudes on those edges. Our guards, Josh Lugg looked the same as he's always played. He got bull rushed a couple times right back into Buckner. And then Zeke Carrell, great athlete, but he looked the same thing a few times. He goes and hits someone and his feet stop. His feet stop a ton. He doesn't have it. I don't know what it is. He hits people and stops. And it was average, very average overall. It's average because that's all you've heard about is double teams, and you got 30 carries for not even 80 yards as a team. They ran for 90, and you take the sacks out. So
I'm gonna put you guys on the spot here. Give me just one thing, the biggest reason that Ohio State beat Notre Dame today. Just one. Whoever has the
Ohio State's offensive line took over the football game.
I would say talent and the desire. My eyes are glazing over. I'm getting tired, fellas. But like the desire to make a play, like their second back took over the game.
Yes.
That one drive, he's like, it's my turn.
Yes.
And again, we don't have guys that do that outside of Michael Mayer. Enough of them. So I would just think talent and guys that are going to go get it.
Okay. All right. We got a few more super chats that just came in. Do we practice kickoff return teams? Yes, they did. Tim, you have a reaction?
Yeah. It's the first thing I thought about was the Fiesta Bowl in 2015, where, Urban Meyer is famous for coaching the kickoff team and just dominated Notre Dame in that Fiesta Bowl. And the very first one where Tyree doesn't even get to like the 12, 15. Yeah, I felt like I was watching the 2015 Fiesta Bowl on special teams. Those dudes are fat, but that goes back to what Goolsby just talked about. The speed and the athleticism some of these dudes have, from number 81 or number 1 to number 85 on scholarship is legit.
Okay. All right. We had a couple more. Let's go to Tim on this one, our O-line guru. Any thoughts on why we didn't trap their nose tackle?
Like a fullback trap, like old school, Nebraska there at Tom Rathman at fullback. Yeah, they don't run the trap, but I think he saw even a wham block with a tight end coming down that the Patriots are famous for, but they probably just don't do that in their scheme. The issues with the nose guard was coming off blocks a couple times, and the pressure that guy was getting was communication between either Kristofic or Lug. You could just see it on when you go back and rewatch it. I mean, it's not rocket science. A back goes to the right, the line slides to the left. Someone's got to pick up the nose guard. I mean, pass protection is not that hard when you watch, how the running back goes.
No, but to the question, so the 51's getting so much penetration upfield. So why not trap them? Well, or just block him in general. Yeah. half the time he got penetration because he was unblocked. So.
He put Lug on skates on one just straight bull rush. But that's going back to, that was the thing real quick about the Buckeyes as we talk about this game. They've heard for 9 months how soft they are. They're not tough. They lost their D tackles, went to the NFL. So they had new dudes up there as well.
Okay.
They wanted it. Going back to Goolsby's point, they wanted it over the 4 quarters.
Hey, Kruger, cheers to you, my man. Appreciate this is an empty beer bottle. But I do appreciate you and all the support tonight. Matthew
Has Kruger been asking a lot of questions?
Yeah, he needs to ask some more.
We're
going to go for a few more minutes. So
that's my ex-teammate, Mac's roommate, Matt Kruger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's the one who dropped $100 earlier, I think. So.
Oh, I'm doing this on my phone. I can barely see the names.
What a dude. Okay. Matthew Devine says, how big do you think the talent disparity is between us and an Ohio State or a Bama at this point? Is it just lack of scheme, players not stepping up, big moments, etc.? Thank you, Matthew.
The talent disparity is easy. I mean, we're playing 2 tight ends and Matt and Goolsby said it earlier. We're throwing fades to Matt Salerno. I mean, the talent disparity is real, and Notre Dame. And that's what's so frustrating is Notre Dame still was right there until the infamous double safety blitz. So, but yeah, the talent disparity is, when CJ Stroud could just turn and throw a quick bubble and their guy's going to go get at least 8 yards, that's a toss play. So he's just boom, dumping it. Same thing with, Bryce Young, when he could just throw a quick slant to Devontae Smith and he just outruns 3 Notre Dame guys in the Final Four. That's talent disparity. Nothing has changed. I've actually watched your guys' Alabama game a couple times, talking about that. And I know, Mike, you hammered that point 1,000 times that night during the Final Four of just the lack of perimeter guys, the athletes, the talent. And it still comes down to recruiting. And we're a couple of years away from that game, and you still see it on the edges.
Yeah, and it's something, if you could bottle it, right, we'd all be multimillionaires. But it's like there's an aspect where there's physical gifts, just raw natural ability, and then there's like the knowing that you're that good too, and then the confidence, and then letting your hair down and going and having fun, like competing and all that. So like the first half of this game, you couldn't tell that there was a huge talent gap because we played so hard, but you have to consistently play hard and play at a high level and just be conditioned. That's the way it's got to go. And so these elite programs like Bama, A, they have the best talent, B, they have the most competent players, and then C, they go compete and they love to do it. So,
going back to that Final Four real quick, Devontae Smith catches a bubble and scores, a slant and score, a crossing route and scores. Notre Dame hasn't had a dude like that in a long time. You just throw a quick little dump house and he's going to go 70. You haven't had that.
All right, let's see. Horrible punts. So Sott punted 8 times, averaged 46 yards, had a long of 75 inside the 23 times, and had 2 punts of over 50 yards. So
I thought both punters were really good. I mean, field position for Notre Dame was horrible a ton. I mean, Ryan Day was doing a hell of a job coaching. Like, screw it, just keep pinning them because he didn't think Buckner could beat them over the course of 60 minutes.
no big punter analysis, Mr. Goolsby?
No.
Appreciate the super chat, though. B. Holland with another one says, why Singer wearing a tie? Love you guys. Met Horka and Angle last night. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, they're in Columbus. They do a great job. And on our website, Blue and Gold, which, by the way, $1 for 1 year. I'm wearing a tie because I always wear ties for post-game shows.
Post-games. I was late to the show.
Yeah.
It makes you feel less guilty about doing these shows in your underwear, right?
I'm wearing gym shorts.
Hey,
Okay.
Hey, Singer, real quick. Was there any other comments that Horka or Patrick posted from Freeman's press conference? Did anyone ask about the double safety blitz? Is that on Twitter yet? Just curious, since by the way, I had not seen that play yet, and Goolsby texted me, and I was like, okay, that's either a Notre Dame just got a 75-yard post or something really bad, because I had not caught up yet. So by the time I caught up, I texted him right away. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. What the heck?
They ran a double safety blitz out of a cover 2 shell. By the time the ball left the quarterback's hand, I don't even think they got to the line of scrimmage yet. It was bad.
No one got there. Go back and look at Leofau. He blitzes and he gets picked up instantly. There's zero pressure. The other safety, was it Brandon Josephson who blitzes? He runs into the linebacker who's up in the line fooling. He drops and Joseph runs into him. And then poor Mickey, who hasn't played like at all in the game, is like, hey, go out there and cover their dude. Man, cover 0. No one in the middle of the field. Have fun, buddy.
I'm looking for the
I'm just curious.
I'm looking.
That's all right.
But
Mike, you got any more? I might need to tap out. I got a long drive tomorrow, brother, man.
Oh, let's do it then.
Yeah, I think we are. I think that's going to wrap it up, and that breaks the record by far for longest show at Blue and Gold. So appreciate a group of well over 1,000 for the majority of the night joining us. All of the super chats, very much appreciated. Mr. Goolsby, for your time, was awesome, and Tim for popping in an hour in or something.
Yeah,
I just
thank you.
You want to join? I knew you were watching, so I was like, if you're going to watch, might as well join.
I was hanging out.
Yeah, fun show. Appreciate you guys. And $1, 1 year, blueandgold.com. Definitely the place to be. Subscribe to our channel if you have not yet. And hit the thumbs up on this video. Appreciate our podcast audience as well. All right, everyone. You have a great night.
Cheers.